everyone. Well, this is another edition of Dear Younger Mom. That is a mom mentoring series that focuses on intentional parenting to raise godly children. And today I'm so excited because I have with me my sister friend, IHUOMA AzUIKE, and it's so good that we're able to connect on Zoom. And so today we're going to be talking about establishing family traditions. And this is something that I have watched her do over the years. Ihu, you're welcome.
Thank you, Olihe. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so Ihu has 4 children, age range 10 to 21. So she has been a mother for quite a while. And so she'll be talking to us about some of these things. And I hope to have her back, to talk about some other things. So Ihu, let's just get started with this conversation on tradition, family traditions. Why is it important to have family traditions? So first of all, is it important?
Yes.
And why?
Yes, I would say that it's important. And thank you for having me. I'm happy to really be here because this is a topic that is very dear to my heart, actually. This is something that I promote quite a bit. And I want to quickly say this. Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Let that be the guiding principle that I hope the moms watching today would be, let it be what grounds what they would hear today, okay? That traditions are those things that you do over and over consistently. It becomes a part of your family. And there's an aspect of it. You then have to pass it down from generation to generation. If we look back, we can all see things that our grandparents did, good traditions that we've carried on, whether it's Christmas, visiting the village, whether it's buying things for the less privileged, whatsoever it may be, right? That you watch your parents do and you carry it on. And so that scripture grounds me all the time. Why is it important? Because there's active parenting, there's passive parenting. I say this a whole lot. Anybody that have listened to me would hear this. You don't leave things to chance if you even want that thing. If that thing is important and you want to see change, you don't leave it to chance. And so in the concept of nature versus nurture, the question becomes, what is nature and what is nurture? Well, nature is the way we came, right? Our DNA, what it brings with it, right? Nurture is the environment that we're raised in. And so traditions is that thing you do that helps your children feel secure and safe. It helps them feel like they belong somewhere. It helps them with their identity, if you really think about it. So the 3 things, core things will be, I use acronyms every now and then, SIB, which is security, identity, belonging. That is the core of every human, right? You want to know that you belong somewhere. You want to know that you're part of something that is somewhat bigger than yourself, something that is good, something that you can, when people see, they know that you came from somewhere, right? That you're not this homeless person who, like back home, they will say somebody doesn't have home training, right? And so, and if you ask me, the family is God's idea. I know that nobody is going to argue that because we didn't create family, God did, right? And it's God's grand strategy to further his agenda here on earth. So when you infuse godly traditions into your family, you are actually aligning yourself with God's purpose for your children and for the family, if you really think about it. And so if you consider that God is relational in nature, consider that for a minute. God is relational in nature. God has got the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. God has emotions. He created them, right? So traditions are those things that help your children stay very grounded spiritually, emotionally, and physically. It's wholesome. And then I think I'll go into some of how to establish, maintain, and all of that later.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you, because we've established it is important. It is important, and it does actually have benefits. So it's not just things that we do just because. We're actually doing it. And I like that SIB, security, identity and belonging.
Belonging.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Yes. And oh, yes, yes, yes. And I know even when you talk to little children, they will tell you the things that they do at home. When you see them, like even in school and,
Yes.
you know, whether it's nursery, daycare, what they always talk about what they do at home, the things that they repeatedly do at home, because it gives them that sense of belonging. So yes, talk to us about some of the family traditions that you have established. And I want you to really like go back to maybe when your kids were really little, you know,
Oh,
speak
yes.
to, yes.
Oh, yes. There are three things I want to say about tradition before I talk about the ones that I have established in my home. You can start traditions at any time. Start where you are. Use what you have. You don't have to wait till you move into a mansion before you start traditions around gathering people in your family. You don't have to wait until your children, everything is right. Maybe you're even struggling in your marriage, right? You really can start traditions to help build your marriage up and help give your children a sense of identity, even if you're going through stuff, because we all go through stuff. Consider that you're going to go through seasons. So traditions may even be dropped from one season to another. And I'll talk about some of the things that actually shifted as my children grew up. And so start where you are. Start at any time, use what you have. That's the first thing I want to say about starting traditions. There's no such thing as I'm too late either. You know, some moms may hear me today and feel like, oh, her child is 21, so I'm late. I will tell you that humans are very perpetual and habitual. So when you start something today, and then that takes me to my next topic, which is consistency. Be consistent. Traditions require your consistency because it's your habits get formed over a period of days and weeks. You begin to form habits and you begin to repeat them quite, consistently. So be consistent with your traditions. And the last thing would be to communicate and be inclusive. So communication is important in traditions. Why? People like to know why they do things. You have those children who wouldn't do something or you tell them why, right? If you don't tell them why, they struggle. I have one or two in my home. And so if you tell people why you're doing certain things and what the importance is, I truly believe that people tend to do that thing more and they tend to own it as well. So being inclusive with the children, you might be surprised that they will bring some ideas to your family traditions. That's something that I've come to learn through the years. So having laid down those three things about tradition, I would like to say that I built my family traditions around three core, areas of our lives. We are spiritual beings who have emotions, who live in a physical body, okay? So think spiritual, think spirit, soul, and body, if you will. So consider traditions around those three aspects of us, because that's what brings wholeness and balance to our lives. Notice that if one aspect of your life is off, you generally are not okay. And that's our reality. So consider traditions that serve the three sides and aspects of us. And so for the spirit, and that's the one that I quickly built up once I got married and my first baby came along. I knew I wanted it so badly because I was raised, in a home where prayer and spirituality and faith was the anchor of my family. So that was the first tradition, some of the first traditions that I developed and really, got grounded on was around spiritual traditions. What are some of those things? Family devotion time. We take it very seriously. We gather for prayer. It's going to change as the children grow. I've talked about this previously, where we did the family devotions, gathered around in the living room, did devotions. As the children grew, with a 10-year gap between my first one and my last one being in college, last one being in elementary. So imagine that challenge where she's telling me, Mom, I have work to turn in. It's summer, we're all home, but I have work to turn in, Mom. I'm doing summer school or whatever that may look like. And my elementary year child is getting ready to go to bed earlier than, the first one. So what did we start doing? Our tradition shifted from being in the living room and gathered to gathering in the elementary child's, bedroom. So we went in there, we gathered and we prayed together. So consider that, don't be stuck on the method, right? Be stuck on the goal. What is it that you're trying to achieve? So with that, spiritual family devotion, very important. Fasting and praying. So we started doing this prayer during the new year. I was always doing it with my husband. We fasted into the new year. And then when my kids came along, I think it was about 5 years ago, my daughter said, why can't we fast, Mom? My second daughter. She said, I mean, people do it, right? We're not going to die if we don't eat food. I hear it's even good for your body every now and then. And I told them, you want to do it? They said yes. And so ever since then, when the year starts, we talk about it. How many weeks are you fasting? Let's join you in. So spiritually, that's something that helps build them up, build up their faith. And of course, we write down prayer points as we fast. During the Lenten season, like now, we're in the Lenten season of the church, we can also do fasting. We haven't formed that as a core tradition, but I do it and I kind of have them join me. I visited my first one in college last week and she asked everybody, by the way, guys, what are you giving up for Lent? That blessed me, right? So, because we're in the season.
She was pulling from what she, that's what usually happens. And that's the thing with the tradition. It kind of, that scripture you quoted at the beginning, train up a child in the way that they should go. It becomes their way of life.
Yes.
It becomes their, absolutely.
Yes. And you may not be able to influence the way I'm not saying that I know 100% how my child is going to turn out, but here's what I'm choosing to do. I'm choosing to actively influence their environment. Yeah. If I can't pick their friends, I can at least influence their environment so that within the environment that I put them in, they will then choose their friends and what influences them. That's really what this parenting thing is about. Not that we're trying to raise perfect kids who will never stumble and who will never go wrong. We're trying to align with God so that even when they do stumble, they are within the recesses of God's hands, right? And God can redirect and use everything for our greater good. And so that's what this is about. Acts of giving is a big one. With the family, we do, charity acts of giving. So during Thanksgiving, we have a charity of choice, one or two, and we talk about it with the kids. We give them offering. We tell the kids what we're doing. We kind of center ourselves around acts of giving, acts of charity. My kids go on mission trips because my church provides that. So annually, they went on mission trips up until they left home for college. And even my first daughter is discussing how she will continue mission trips after she graduates college. And so when I hear that, it gladdens my heart. We have an annual...
Sorry, I wanted to just, go back to something that struck me as you were talking, with the giving, discussing with the kids, because I know parents, sometimes they do a lot of things. And so that's what we have also started doing, as the children have grown up, where you can sit down and talk with them so that they're a part of it, so that it becomes, this is what the family is doing. It's not just what mom is giving to who, and they may not even know about it. If it's going to influence their lives, then they have to be a part of it. They have to know about it. So talking about it with them, and just like you mentioned earlier, they may even come up with some ideas that may make the whole thing even more robust.
Yes. Tithing is one. So we taught them. So when they started working, my first one, they did their first summer job or whatever. And the first question was, oh, Mom, I got paid today. And don't even ask, I paid my tithe. So if you start the tradition in the home, that child doesn't struggle when they become an adult. That means that if they are faithful to tithe $200 worth of income, gradually, as they make more, it's easier to tithe, right? As opposed to, and I see adults who struggle with tithing and offering and these things. And so I encourage you, start it early. It will really ground your child. We have an annual gratitude box. And this box, we drop in things that happen along the way throughout the year. We start January 1st. We're now 3 years into this tradition. Didn't start it from when they were little. And so we built it up, and every December 31st, we would pour it out in the middle of the living room, take turns picking it up and reading. So we have index cards and a pen in the living room where we all gather all the time. So it's easy to pick up the card and the pen, and we have the box sitting right there on the mantle. They drop it in as we go along. At the end of the year, everybody takes turns and we pick up cards until we're done. Reading what God did throughout the year is an annual gratitude box we unravel at the end of the year. And then one thing that, my child, when they were younger, we would read nursery rhymes to them, right? Read the Bible at their bedside, read nursery rhymes. And my daughter wouldn't go to sleep until my husband was done reading. That's something that happened when she was a little girl. And that still gives her comfort till tomorrow. That's something she talks about and closes her eyes and, oh my goodness, I miss those days. So that's an example of something we did, but we don't do it now because she's a grown woman now. And so it's changed, right? So that's spiritual.
But it's given her memories. which is another thing. It has given her memories, and that's the belonging, that's the identity, because that's the formative years that gave her that. So she will always have that. And she is probably going to do the same thing for her children.
Her own children, yes. They're even discussing their children's names. So with our children, they all have Igbo names, by the way. We're Igbo, right? So they have Igbo names, all 4 of them. So we have songs that go with their names, and we use those songs to sing during devotion. And so now they're all looking for Igbo names to name their children. So they're constantly coming up with, oh, I like Chim Simde, I'm going to name my child that. So even just with our culture, the language that we speak, we build traditions around that. The other 2 parts will be their emotional. Consider that your emotional is that aspect of you that either holds trauma or holds good memories, right? The emotional part of you is that part of you that makes you feel good, or makes you feel rejected, or makes you feel wanted. It's a part of you that responds to life, where anger resides, where, emotions, right? Emotions that we all know about, joyful, happy, all of these emotions, right? Good. So what do you do with your children outside of course, the spiritual part is more altruistic, more connected to their God and all things. There are other things you get to do as a child of God that all it does is give you pure joy and helps you make good memories. For this one, we do things like family game night. We choose a game night during the week. We all do it. I'll be very honest. It changed with the pandemic. We did things differently. My son says, I want to play games. My daughter goes, I don't want to anymore, right? So we find other things we get to do together, have them take turns to choose where we get to go, whether we go bowling, whether we go watch a movie, but we try to do something all together as a family, right? Annual family photo shoots. I've been married 22 years, and every single Christmas, we get together, choose a color scheme, and do a family photo shoot. I told them that I want to track their growth from Christmas to Christmas. That is such a beautiful thing. My children talk about it. It gives them so much joy, right? You can start it now if it's something you haven't done. That's what I mean by you can really, right in the middle of that marriage, that family, start a new tradition. We do seasonal celebrations, of course. It's Thanksgiving, it's Christmas, it's Easter. We bring the family together. And for their birthdays, we celebrate milestone birthdays in our home. So it's age, 5, 10, 13, which is teenage year, 16, sweet 16, 18, 21. So we do it, and everybody looks forward to theirs and comes up with ideas. About 10 years ago, I stopped my children from using store-bought cards. The tradition is that when it's anniversary, birthday, or whatever, Mother's Day, Father's Day, you get to write a letter. You get to write a letter and express what you feel and what you think about a brother, a sister, mom, dad. We no longer use store-bought cards. So you write a letter. So I'll always ask, where's my love letter? So my kids write. And that's a tradition that we've held up for 10 years. And the last one would be physical. And that would be exercise, nutrition, wellness, playing sports, doing walkathons. What do you want to do with those traditions around? Let's go do a 5K walk once a year. Teach your children how to eat right, build traditions around your wellness, okay? You say, we walk twice a week in this house, whatsoever that may look like, that's your physical aspect. If you can consider these 3 aspects, right, and try to fit traditions into the 3 areas, you will be pretty well-rounded if you choose things that you can do. Your child will definitely thank you for it. And before I close, let me tell you what has blessed me the most. That my child went off to college, came home the year after she went to college, and my second one was graduating high school. And we all went, and I was out in the field while they were doing their final parade or whatever, high school parade. And I'm shouting and screaming her name. And my son, who is 10 years old, goes, "Mom, you're shouting so much. All these other parents are not even shouting. Be quiet, mommy." I was taking pictures and all that. And so guess what my first child says to him? "Yanni, stop. Don't say that to mommy." She said, "It took me going to college to know that everything mom and dad tried to do was really to give us a sense of belonging."
Oh my
I
goodness.
love being a part of
that has me tearing up. Oh my goodness.
And she says, she says, during my graduation, mommy was screaming. I was a little embarrassed, if I'm going to be honest, but it took me going away from home to recognize that there are many people out there whose families don't do the things we do. She said she didn't realize that people didn't do summer vacations, because we do that, not because we're rich, but because I choose to invest in those vacations because it gives my children new environment, new adventure. I choose not to buy certain expensive things. And every year we save and go in a summer vacation, right? Because it's an alternate type of education. And so my daughter actually said that when she started to listen to some people who said, I've never been on a family vacation with a summer vacation with my family, it occurred to her that this was something special we're doing. So she said it and told my son, Mom and Dad, they're just awesome. Don't tell her to stop, because then she said something. When life gets hard in school, when I struggle and I wonder what to do, I hear Mommy's voice. And that's what I'm going to close with.
Thank you so much. I don't know that there's anything else to add to that. Oh my goodness. And I just want to say thank you for providing us with that, the framework, not just that it's important, but this is how you can do it. God bless you. God bless you.
God bless you too.
God bless you.